Hi guys, welcome back to the desktop for another rules breakdown, and this time I'm going to do Cyborg Commando, Gary Gygax's 1987 role-playing game of playing a cyborg soldier in the battle for Earth. Now, I've done a video, it was one of the first videos I did reviewing Cyborg Commando, and I was pretty harsh on the system. So I thought it might be amusing to return to it and go through the rules, and where the rules are interesting, where the rules are different, and where the rules are just plain dumb. Anyway, let's get on with it. So, let's get the rules out of the box. So, we'll discard the top, get the books out, throw the box to the side. Now, we need the CCF manual. We don't need the campaign book, because that's just world building. We don't need an adventure. Well, actually, we can use the pre-generated characters. So we'll keep that to the side. And there is an element out of the player adventures notes. So, the main rules here. Now, for skills, if we look at the skills here, we can see that Harry Burke here has a total of 12 in strategy and tactics. He has a total of 15 in unarmed combat. He has 10 in communications. He has 18 in law enforcement. Now, those skills are percentile based. However, into the rulebook, we can see that we use the D10X system. Now, that differs from rolling ordinary percentile dices. Even though I'm going to use percentile dice here, we're just going to use them as D10s. So, when Harry Burke is rolling his law enforcement of 18, we are rolling 2 d10s, and we are multiplying them together. So 6 times 9 is 54, if I remember my maths right. Now that multiplication leads to a much lower probability. They actually have how to use the dice section here, split over 3 pages of a only 50-page book. 3 pages spent on explaining how multiplying the dice together leads to a lower curve of probability. So you're going to get lower rolls rather than higher ones. So instead of on that roll where if they'd just been dice you'd have counted them as 69 or 96, we've got to 54 instead. So it's averaging lower. While you can still get 2 10s multiplied to make 100, the average is lower, which gives you a more chance of success. So his skill was only 18, we rolled 54, so he failed. And that's how skills work. You multiply the dice together, you're rolling 2d10. Now initiative. Initiative isn't based on a dice roll. Initiative is based on your actions. If we skip over to the sort of combat section, character creation. Time. Whenever a battle occurs, time is represented in combat turns. Each represents 8.6 seconds of game time, exactly 1/10,000th of a day. So there are 10 phases within your combat turn, and each combat turn comprises 8.6 seconds, because they decided to decimalize the day, I guess. But anyway, your phases are broken down. So if you're using zap weapons, so lasers, microwaves, magnetic effects, you go in phases 1 and 6. Fast projectiles, 2 or 7. Slow projectiles, 3 or 8. Lobbed objects, 4 or 9. And physical and sonic attacks, plus all miscellaneous actions, 5 or 10. Now at the start of the combat round, you deduct 1 power unit. We'll come to power units later. And you decide what you're doing in your 2 phases. And as you work your way through the round, if you come to your action and your declaration doesn't match what's going on, you say, oh, I want to shoot Bob, and Bob's already dead by the time you reach your action. then you cannot change your action in phase 1. You can only cancel it. If you cancel your action in the first set of phases, so 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you can change your action for the second set. So you declare your actions, oh, I want to shoot Bob twice, but he's dead before you get to go. So in the first phase sweep, you say, well, I don't want to do that action, but I do want to change my second action to shooting Joe. And then you go through the second phase, and when it comes to you, you can do that action. And that's how initiative works, going through these phases of 8.3 seconds in 2 sweeps. You're only allowed to change your actions after declaration if you've decided to cancel your first action in your first sweep. I hope that makes sense. Now, combat skill rolls work in the same way as ordinary skill rolls, that you're rolling your 2 percentile dice and multiplying them together. So 1 times 2, we've got 2. So we've basically succeeded in whatever we're doing. However, the skill roll doesn't involve any of your skill. It's all based on the defense value of your target. So if we look here at Sarah Evans, if I try and move it closer, we can see she has defense values of laser 20, impact 30, thermal 35, electromagnetic 25, and sonic 15. So let's say Harry is trying to shoot her. He needs to get beneath the 20. He rolled a 2 and a 1, so he has done a 2. So he has successfully hit her. Now the only way that varies is if he gets a special effect. So if you roll a double, so 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, etc. If we flick onto the advanced combat section, we get a special damage effect. And we roll 1d10, so a 3, and we get normal human faints for 10 combat time. Cyborg Commando, Mad Mac, NF10, an alien loses all power. So they get special effects based on rolling a double, and you roll a d10 to calculate that out. Some of these can be as much as damage bonus plus 20, but mainly they are other effects. Now, damage is generally based upon your dice roll for combat. So, Harry here rolled his dice and he got a 1 and a 2, getting 2. So got a very good hit on Sarah, beating her damage value. But unfortunately, that also means he's only done 2 points of damage. So the aim of Cyborg Commando generally in damage is to roll as high as you can to their defense value to do the maximum amount of damage. Now, while Cyborg Commando weapons tend to use the 2d10 method, ordinary weapons are very vague. I actually found them only in the player adventure notes. We skip through to accessories, and there's a section here, weapon damages. Handheld weapons usually inflict fixed damages ranging from 1 to 20 IPs. Your GM will decide the amount of fixed damage for a given weapon. If variable damage is desired, roll a d10 and add a bonus if your GM deems it appropriate. For example, a rifle might inflict 6 to 15 points. Roll a d10 and add 5 to the results to determine the damage. As a general guide, remember that a typical adult civilian has about 20 IPs. So that's how you do it. If you're firing like a machine gun going onto the front cover, so he's got a gun there, it's only going to be doing like d10 plus 5, so he'll be doing 9 damage when he fires that. Now, weapon damage comes straight off your IPs. As I mentioned there, weapons do various IP damage. So, in the event where Harry was shooting Sarah, he only did 2 points of damage, and she has 212 IPs. So she's only taken 2 points of damage. Now, her IPs are calculated by doubling her physical stat, which of course is generated during character creation. Now, her IPs, Sarah can regenerate by using power. Each Cyborg Commando has 200 points of power in their batteries, and those are allocated to repairing damage, using weapons. When they fire their laser, it costs 5 points of power straight from their batteries, so he's using 5 points of power there. Every combat round you need to use 1 point of power, and there's various other abilities. You've got magnetic screens, you've got torches, you've got super speed, you've got an autopilot you can use to control your body while you do something else. All of these use power. So perhaps more so than IPs, which is how much damage you can take, your power is more important. The other way you can regenerate IPs is actually to do maintenance, but that's a very small amount. By making a skill roll, a character can heal another of 1 to 2 points of IP damage. So carrying out small independent repairs, patching them up in the field. Now, most of your power you're going to be tapping from other sources, but a big point of Cyborg Commando, if I go back to the main rulebook, is about all the power supplies. So you've got primary batteries. All functions of the Cyborg Commando body use power from chemical storage batteries mounted in the lower body. These primary batteries store a total of 200 power units of electricity. But you've got secondary batteries. So when your main power goes down, your body freezes up. But that doesn't kill you. You've got secondary batteries which support your brain for 180 days. But once that power's gone, your brain dies. And you've got a third battery, a tertiary battery, which contains about 50,000 hours, 5.7 years, of maintaining your computer memory. So any record stored in your onboard Cyborg Commando computer can be retained for about 5.7 years. Now, advancement uses SPs, which were actually given during character generation. You had a certain amount of SPs which you allocated to your skills. And the SPs are allocated on a one-for-one basis. So when you, at the end of an adventure, they recommend you get to about 6 points. You have 6 skill points. So you can turn around and you can increase one of your skills by 6 points or scatter it between your different skills and increase them. So Harry Burke here has his strategy and tactics skill at 12. He can increase it to 18 or can increase it less and scatter the other points around to increase other skills. You also store the SPs for requirements as you go up rank. So as you have more SPs, you gain ranks, which also increases your physical statistics. So as you go up, as you gain experience, you basically gain levels, going from a private to a private first class, lance corporal, corporal, sergeant, right up to a brigadier general. And you have physical statistics increased by these points as well as you go up the levels. Finally, SPs can also be used for equipment. Basically, you can trade off your experience, because you don't get money as a Cyborg Commander, for spending time basically claiming better equipment. So if you want a missile launcher or anything, you spend a certain amount of SPs to gain that equipment, and basically it becomes yours. You can add it to your character sheet, but it says such equipment is valuable and scarce and will not be replaced if lost. So that is Cyborg Commando. It's a pretty simple system, to tell the truth. It's obviously a bit odd. The decimalized time I find particularly strange, but it can be a fun game. It is an interesting setting, but it's very, very old. Gary Gygax did not come out with a hit at this. I was very critical of it in my review of the game, and I remain so. But there's some fun to be had here if you want to just play something really silly, really stupid. Cyborg Commando is quite possibly the way to go for a fun evening. Anyway, I've gone on for quite long enough. Thank you very, very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like me doing these rules breakdowns, as making comments and all that really helps me out with the Google algorithms. But most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.